Hello, everyone, and welcome to this extra special Sellers Funding and AVASK webinar. My name is Mike. I'm delighted to join you today, and I'm so excited to be introducing two extremely knowledgeable people within the e-commerce ecosystem, Ricardo from Sellers Funding and Melanie Shabangu from AVASK. So, hi guys, how are you doing today?
Great.
Yeah, I think we are good. I think we are good. We are good. I can see some people that are logging in right now. Hi Ben. Hi Michael. Hi Sonia. Hi Alpha. So I think we've got quite a few people that are on here today. So yes, other than that, Mike, we are doing great. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Ricardo, I've heard you're traveling somewhere in Europe. Where are you joining us from today?
Yeah, so I'm not in a dark basement someplace. Like I'm attending Slush. Slush is a fintech conference. I'm in Finland this week, and I decided to come a few days before to see if I could see the aurora borealis. So I'm literally calling from an igloo on top of a frozen lake.
That is amazing. Well, fingers crossed that you get to see the aurora tonight. That sounds absolutely fantastic. I know that actually you've both been traveling all across the world, really, haven't you? Ricardo, you've just been to the Money 2020 event, haven't you? How was that?
Yeah, it was in Vegas. So interesting conference, a lot of insights on the industry, a lot of discussions about innovations on the payment side. So yes, and a lot of talk about crypto and what's been happening everywhere, right? So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't do another webinar on crypto, and I did one. I think it was 2020 or 2021 on crypto, and I think I had an advisor on stocks and another crypto strong enthusiast, and it was a pretty interesting one. But yeah.
I remember that conversation very well. It was almost like two cats in a corner.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. But yeah, it was great. Yes, I've just come back from AMZ Innovate in New York, and prior to that, I was out with the Titan Network out in Austin, Texas for the first time, and we had a tremendous time out there. But I think I'm more jealous on you, Ricardo, being somewhere better than England at the moment, even though we've just had a rainbow on the sky, which is it's a promise. I've been told about it, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, this is my first time in Finland, and when we landed here, it was kind of okay. It's the sunset, so the sun should be down in like 30 minutes, and then after 3 hours, I said, "Oh, it's the sunset. The sun should be down." No, the sun was always in that position. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, so now, in case anyone missed the announcement, Sellers Funding and AVASK have joined forces to form an exciting new partnership together. And this webinar is one of the first activities we're jointly doing together. Melanie, I know that your development team have been working incredibly hard to produce something special for sellers, and there has been a first step towards integrating with Sellers Funding. Can you tell me a little bit about this, please?
Yeah, so our team, they've been hard at work because we've been trying to produce something special for our clients, whereby up until now, we have been receiving information via emails. We're trying to minimize the amount of emails that are out there and sort of like develop some sort of app whereby sellers will be able, or our clients will be able to sort of like take their files wherever they go on their phone, and to just consolidate all the information that's out there, because I think compliance has sort of like taken a bit of a different turn over the period, whereby it's no longer just VAT. There is more that is actually required now, including having seller funding on our portal in order for sellers to be able to get funding if they don't have sufficient money to pay on taxes to the tax authorities, or maybe they'll have used that money on inventory, so they can actually get funding in one spot when they are wanting to be compliant or wanting to remit any funds to the tax authorities. So we're really excited about this.
Absolutely. And Ricardo, can you tell me, how do you think this integration will assist sellers from a seller's funding point of view?
Oh, for us, it's an amazing opportunity because we have an increasing number of clients interested in selling abroad. And I think that having that partnership with AVASK enables them to have a smooth transition, knowing that they can count on a reliable partner to be compliant with taxes. But it's like Melanie said, not only taxes, but there's so many details these days that sellers must be aware of in order to evaluate their international expansion. And we're talking about thousands of sellers now that are benefiting from this this infrastructure that we built, and now we'll be able to leverage even more that partnership with AVASK.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, thank you very much. That's perfect. Yeah, I see you've both mentioned the changes that are happening. And I believe that the entire world was turned on its head a couple of years ago when the COVID pandemic started. Melanie, when considering that pre-COVID, VAT used to be the only thing that sellers needed to bear in mind when selling cross borders, especially in Europe. So what does a seller need to bear in mind today in the post-COVID landscape?
You're on mute, Melanie.
I am, and do you know what I've been told that I'm on mute for the past 2 years or 3 years? Thank you for that. I think some of the topical areas that any seller, especially if they are considering their global expansion, is just no longer your VAT registration, which that you can explain to anybody within minutes, but it's a strategy. It's looking at what exactly that you need to consider. It's considerations from more a business point of view, and also it's having SOPs in place. We were told, we're having a conversation during our time in Austin that it's not about just you right now thinking about the fact that you need to sell your product online, but it's thinking about your product SOPs, your accounting SOPs, your sourcing SOPs, your shipping, your product design. So there is a lot that is actually required right now from a business point of view. And I would say that thanks to aggregators, because they came into this place and they did a bit of some education, or maybe gave us a bit of some lessons from sellers' point of view, that maybe what we are doing at the moment, we should take it very serious and take it more like a business than it's just a little quick buck that is going on at the side, or replacing our salaries from the job. So I would say that there is more now that's required, because anybody that is launching, one thing that I would say for them is that it's thinking global, because you don't know where your brand is going to be. So just doing product arbitrage is no longer, I would say, a long-term sustainable way of you growing a serious brand. I think there's a lot of people today that are just even not talking about, before they even launch, they talk about making sure that they are launching under private label brands. So they are now sorting out problems instead of just copying somebody else's brand and sticking a label and putting it out there. So sellers are solving problems, but at the same time, from a seller point of view, it's no longer just a VAT. It's making sure that all your SOPs as a business, they are in place.
No, that's absolutely very true. I think that's a very, very valid point you've just brought up there, and I think navigating through this new sector is going to be extremely challenging for the considerable time frame. Ricardo, how has Sellers Funding pivoted to support sellers further in the post-COVID landscape? Do you find that sellers are now more knowledgeable than pre-COVID?
I would say sellers now find themselves in a different stage of where they see opportunities and want to take advantage of those opportunities. COVID gave a boost to e-commerce in general, right? So most of our clients benefit from this boost, and now they're facing challenges in ways that they didn't thought they would have to face in such a short period of time. You know, if you are a UK seller and then you just realize, okay, I grew like 200% in the last 2 years, but now maybe the UK and European markets are not big enough for me, and I want to take my brand and go to the US. What does that mean to you? You know, that's the beauty of working with marketplaces and having the flexibility to work with partners that will create the foundation for that. And the regulatory environment has changed a little bit since COVID. It has required our firms to be on top of changes in regulations and help us, kind of challenge us to be ready and to be ready to support our clients in the best way possible. I think that the regulatory environment that us fintech companies face is one, and then but sellers also have to face some challenges in the regulation front.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Melanie, did you have something you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I was going to definitely add on that, because I was saying when you're talking about regulation, I think everywhere whereby there's more regulation that is in place, it sort of like maybe increases the barriers of entry, and less people. It's a less traveled road for the people that are not sort of like ready, that don't have those processes and probably sufficient infrastructure in place. And also funding, I will say, from a business growth point of view, because you look at it that there's too much work that is involved, and that's where probably more opportunities come through from a business point of view. When you're talking about regulation in Europe, we've seen the introduction of EPR, whereby there's packaging that is now required, and as businesses, we need to be responsible about products that we are putting out in the market in order to ensure that there is proper recycling that is involved and whatsoever, and to combat climate change. So EPR, which is extended producer responsibility, we saw it being introduced by France and Germany. Now we're going to see more and more countries introducing this requirement as from 2023. Now, from a seller point of view, it's not another tax or a layer of tax, which is what sort of like people mistake it to be. It's a contribution towards the environment. We need to be aware about what we produce, that as much as we need money, but it's going to cause some damage, and we need to be responsible as sellers, as producers, as manufacturers of products that we put out there in the market space. So I think that's what we've seen in Europe. There's been changes on our VAT legislation, whereby there's been a bit of consolidation to ensure that sellers outside the European Union, or even those that are in the European Union, there's fair trade that is going on, and also that marketplaces are being held responsible of the transactions that take place on their marketplaces. So I would say definitely regulation, we have seen it, but at the same time, I don't think, and I don't know what you think, Ricardo, I don't think regulation itself causes any barriers. It just means that as a business, it's now no longer about you having a budget of $100 or $500 or $1,000. to trade on this space. It's about you now having, I would say, a budget of 20,000 or even 50,000 to put a product online. So you are being really responsible. I mean, I think if you're going to be having $100, probably is doing product arbitrage, and you're going to do that for a very long time before you even get to the hundreds of thousands. So
Yeah.
it is a long way. I think when e-commerce was new or newer, it was easier for anybody to sort of like get in and sort of like trade. And I know that we sort of like speak about during COVID. I don't know whether you see it on your side, but we saw a large numbers coming into the space, jumping into the opportunity, because we didn't think that COVID would end. We never thought that it would end. It just continued forever.
Or it would
Now,
end that fast, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we've actually even almost forgotten that there was COVID. I mean, I went for shopping in the mall for the first time in about I would say months. And when I went there, it was about 11 a.m. in the morning, and already there was a bit of a stampede. There was so many people because some people are sort of like browsing. But one thing that I always go and sort of like do, for me, everything is more like an experiment, because one thing that I noticed is that there was lesser people that were actually doing shopping. There were loads of browsers in around the mall. There was a lot of people walking around without carrying any shopping bags. So from somebody who's coming from the e-commerce side, what that tells me is that we have got now a lot of browsers. People are looking for shopping experience post-COVID era. So it's about the shopping experience. It's about me comparing my prices, how different they are than they are on my mobile. And if my mobile is cheaper on pricing, that's where I'm going to be going to. So I would say the experience, the ease, the fact that I don't have to be carrying bags to the shopping mall, I definitely experienced it on the weekend, because there wasn't a lot of people that were actually doing shopping, but there were a lot of browsers, and they'll go back home and use their credit cards. I don't know if some people that are online are like me, that I don't even know my PIN code anymore, because I always shop online. So if you ask me that I need to put in a PIN code and enter it, I don't know it. So it's easy for me to just tap my card or enter the digits, and I'm done. So the shopping experience is different. So
Can I just
sorry.
I was just going to quickly ask, so how does that translate then to the online environment, and how can that, what takeaway can e-commerce sellers take from that?
I would say from my side, my experience is that sellers want, buyers, they're looking for the best shopping experience. So which means that anybody that is looking to expand, definitely I would say online shopping is going to remain for a very long time. That would be my take on it, is that shopping experience matters.
Absolutely. I think that is very, very key. And I think a store has to be relevant to the client persona that's actually doing the shopping. So post-COVID, I think, how do you differentiate yourself from the brick and mortar online?
Can I add to and maybe derail a little bit? It's what you were describing. I don't know if you agree with me, Melanie, but it's kind of the difference between Amazon, advertising through Amazon or advertising through Google.
Yeah.
You know, consumers, they go to Google, they're curious about a service or good or something they're looking for. When they go to Amazon and they do a product search, they know what and the conversion rate is there. And the likelihood of them for that search to be converted into a purchase is much greater than a Google search, or much greater than a walk in the mall.
Absolutely. I do agree to that, because I think what Amazon does, or most marketplaces do, it's about the shopping experience that they get from there. Now it's up to you then whether you've got great reviews on your product that people will be comparing it, and they can actually bundle up. There's some recommendations that are there, which is why from my side I would say it's one of the best experiences. But I would then maybe take it a bit further than that and say, if somebody is going to be looking at now expanding over into the EU marketplace, if you ask me that any seller that I'm going to be launching in Europe, what's my ideal avatar? What's my ideal seller that I want to launch? And I haven't had this in a very long time. An introduction came through from one of our partners, and immediately when they send me the URL of the store, I want to dig further. I want to see, do they have their own websites? Do they have a TikTok account? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have an Instagram? Honestly, this seller had all that. They had their own website. They were on Amazon US, now looking to expand over into Europe. And I'm looking at, this is the type of business that I would launch every day, because I'm looking at the fact that they are using social commerce. So from an expansion point of view, this is the seller that is likely to grow than any other seller out there, because they've got different channels whereby they are driving sales. So as much as they're going to be visible on Amazon, they might as well just be visible for me on when I'm browsing on Facebook or Instagram. So they are catching me on every direction. They are not. It's not a director of a company that is writing a story about what they ate, but it's a director of a company that is putting about a product that they are selling on Instagram. I love that. I love to see advertisements on Instagram. When I go on Facebook, though, I want to see family stories. I want to know what you ate for dinner last night, Ricardo. I think that's the difference. It's using social commerce at its fullest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Melanie. That's brilliant. One of the main points where people tend to lose money is on Forex. What should anyone trading overseas bear in mind when dealing with multiple currencies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I usually think about that when I try to, the way we try to mitigate risk for our clients is to provide funding in multiple currencies. So it's hard to predict. Even look, if you look at any investment bank, even the major players, go to their FX research and look at the end of the year research that forecasts what the yen or the euro or the pound will do against the dollar in the next 12 months. And then a year later, see where the actual levels close. None of them will get it right. There's so many things happening, especially lately, a lot of changes in the geopolitical risk, inflation here and there. Now we have inflation, recession. Anyway, so the way we try to mitigate that risk with our clients is to provide funding sources in multiple currencies. So if you are selling the US, you can have funding in US dollars. You can, if you're selling in UK, in pounds, in Canada, in CAD, Europe, in euros. So if you do that, in a way, you're mitigating your risk because you're getting financing through a working capital line in the same currency that you're selling. So you're not unhedged. There's no easy answer, or we just try to make it easier in that way. It mitigates a little bit the risk. It's not an easy task.
No, I can imagine it's not. Melanie, did you want to add something there?
Yeah, I was going to say that some sellers that sell or that send money abroad, I personally wouldn't want to transfer my money from a marketplace directly to my home country bank account. They are great savings that could be made. I mean, if we're talking about what is one of the greatest products in this space, I would turn around and say it's definitely funding. And one of our partners at Getida, where that it mitigates the rate of what is it that I would have to exchange from euro to a dollar if I am an American. There are definitely savings there as compared to just doing those transfers via a marketplace. If we're talking about saving on sort of like on cash flow or mitigating any pennies that are out there. We've got a shop in the UK that's called Tesco, and one of their slogan is "Every day helps." So I would turn around and say inventory reconciliation is also one of the best ones, and definitely I wouldn't just use my bank to transfer money from one country to the next, because definitely I'm bound to lose a lot of money via that route. So it's just trying to save as much as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially when you consider we're heading towards an economic downturn, every little really will help, and that could be the difference between your business surviving and not surviving. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very key point there that you've made on that. I think navigating cross-border selling is such a tricky and delicate issue. Melanie, can you tell us perhaps what are the compliance requirements for expansion especially when you're considering somewhere like Europe, for example?
I would say we did mention this, the fact that it's no longer just of VAT. There's a lot of things that you need to sort of like navigate through these days. There is actually what's called a multi-level compliance that is actually required. So you've got the VAT registration, which is key. You've got the Euro registration. You've got a trademark there. There is the EPR that you need to sort of like consider. So there is more now that is required than we had before. So it's making sure that whatsoever that you are trying to launch, there is proper advisory that is in place. That's one thing that I would say. And also it's the management of different storage options, which is one thing that I would compare that to sort of like funding, because if you are going to be trading with Amazon, you've got the option of getting Amazon or a marketplace to transfer the funds back into the US, or you've got the choice of actually having a 3PL from a storage point of view, or you store all your product with Amazon and hope that your inventory is going to be finishing within the quarter, so that you do not charge any extra charges on long-term storage. So I would turn around and say definitely there is laws that you need to make sure that you are compliant in, or that you navigate through before you take any steps from a launch point of view.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've alluded to this before, but 2023 is going to be a challenging environment. What are your top takeaways, perhaps, and this is for both panelists, really, your top takeaways for 2023? What should sellers be looking out for?
Want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
So I think we are transitioning from a year where we started the year with lots of logistics related challenges.
Yeah.
We are coming to the end of the year with sellers holding a lot of inventory, completely overstocked.
Yeah.
They had this challenging year. Thankfully, like now, logistic costs are back to normal, back to pre-COVID
Yeah.
levels. I would say the next 2-3 months will be probably months where most of our clients will be raising cash as much as possible and replenishing inventory in a more conservative way. I would say, if I had one advice, is take a look at your sales in the last 12 months. Take a look at the products that you're facing fierce competition from aggregators and other distressed sellers. Try to prioritize the SKUs that will remain profitable, but don't overshoot. Don't try to anticipate that next year we're gonna have a normal year in terms of sales, because likelihood that we won't is high. So preserve cash, be conservative in replenishing your inventory, and I would say, if you take those two measures, the chances that you will navigate that turbulent period in a better shape than most of your competitors is high.
Wow. Yeah, that is, I do agree. I definitely do agree on that. I would say on my side, I would turn around and say, every business needs to sort of like take that time off to carry out planning, review what you did the past year. What is it that worked? What is it that didn't work? If you are looking to expand into the international markets, whether you are in the US and looking to expand over into Europe, or you are in Europe, you're looking to expand over into the US, I'll say definitely taking stock of what you're doing as a business is absolutely key. Diversification, it's one of those important ones for me, because what might work in one platform might not work in another one. Now, in Europe, we are lucky because each and every country, it's got its different requirements, and there are local platforms or major platforms in that country that you'd be looking to get your listings under. As much as you're going to be trading, looking at launching with a big marketplace there, probably look at the local platforms on what they are doing and what products sort of like goes well. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Definitely, I would say that's one thing that is very important, because during times of downturn, you shouldn't be looking at doing things the same way, and you need to be in a position to seriously to be ready to pivot, because anything can change at any moment in time. You shouldn't be waiting until the last moment comes. Have your ears on the ground. Know exactly as far as that what's going on. And we talk about product research like it's something that is huge. In the world of internet, there is so much that you can achieve within 30 minutes. There's so much information that is available now. You don't have to sort of like get Melanie to produce a huge document for you like we used to do years ago. It's no longer than that. That information is available on your fingertips. I would say as a director or as an entrepreneur, definitely be curious about what's going on out there, and be relentless. The moment you're an entrepreneur, unfortunately, there is no time for you to sort of like be waiting around. Just make sure that whatever that you're doing it very well.
Absolutely. I think those two fantastic pieces of advice there, both from Melanie and Ricardo, is absolutely amazing. So we've just hit about just over half past the hour. I can see that there are no questions that have come in at the moment. So is there anything else that you wanted to import, that closing thoughts, perhaps anything else to add to what's previously been said?
I would just add to you asked about the FX exposure. We are seeing a world where the dollar has gained against major currencies.
Yeah.
And if you are a foreign seller, with a presence in the US, I would probably rely on this trend for a little longer, and probably you get better margins if you translate your US dollar sales back into your home currency when selling in the US than selling in other locations. I would take that into consideration.
Yeah.
We are seeing also, Melanie, we were discussing when I was in the UK a month ago about Brazil, remember?
Yes. I'd love you to talk about Brazil just a bit, because I tell you now, that's one market that is so much interesting. The Latin America, we've just come back from Mexico. The team was there over the weekend, and I can tell you now, I think people can actually go and check it out on our social media, on LinkedIn in particular, where we put the videos there on what's going on in Mexico. So I'd love you to seriously just talk a bit about Brazil, because that is a market of sudden interest, as well as Mexico. From the information that I got back, feedback from the team, is that Mexico is so hungry, that market, and I think they're going to be doing well. There's a lot of individual or Amazon mastermind groups in particular that are going out to Mexico at this time, sort of like doing a sourcing. We think we're going to be there in around February again as well. That sort of like movement is moving. So maybe do you want to just share a bit about Brazil? I'm really keen on that, and I'm sure other people will be here.
Yeah, just for those who are not following, Brazil has elected a new government recently. The government will take place. The new government will be in charge of the country starting in January. Brazil has held in recent years an FX policy that led the local currency to be devalued against the dollar, following the global market trend. I would say Amazon has developed a number of initiatives in partnerships with the Brazilian government to support foreign sellers to go and sell into Brazil, and vice versa, supporting local sellers to sell in the US. Brazil is the 8th largest economy in the world, and probably one of the fastest growing e-commerce markets in the world, top 10 for sure. So I would say it's an interesting market. Like Mexico, Amazon is offering sellers to advantages and support to sell in both markets.
Right.
I was surprised the other day that we have more tokens connected and more sellers selling in Mexico than Canada.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I was so surprised when I saw that statistics. But anyway, it may be an interesting opportunity to explore that. And if you guys, to our clients, if you haven't heard about this service, reach out to your Amazon coverage. They will put you in contact with the right team there.
Absolutely. So tell me then, when we first looked at Brazil, I think it was around 2020, and we discovered that, and we spoke to a few sellers that have said there are issues with shipping into the country. Do you know anything about it? as far as like how would, because previously sellers were supposed to be incorporating a company, and that could be a bit of a sort of like a huge pinpoint for most individuals, because sellers just want to trade. They want to trade using their own country entity in order to mitigate company incorporation and also the associated costs from an administration point of view. So how do they launch in Brazil?
I believe Amazon has a solution for that, for sellers that want to start testing the waters there.
Yeah.
Once you become to a certain size, I would recommend you to then have a local company incorporated there. That adds a complexity. It's really hard. I would go and try to partner with Amazon on that sense, because I believe that they have a good solution for that. It is shipping, logistics, like that last mile in Brazil is a headache. Reason probably why Amazon has not achieved the success that has achieved in other markets. And the bureaucracy is also, regulatory environment is not small business friendly at all.
Yeah. So because Chile is one of those countries whereby I would say it's more open, almost you could say almost the same as Mexico, would you, I know I'm sort of like putting you in a really awkward position here, but from just the knowledge of the market space, would you say that probably maybe exploring Chile, because we're in the midst of sort of like working through Chile right now to see, to speak with partners to see if there is any possibility for us to come through Chile in order for us to get into the Latin America. Mexico is sort of like easy if your goods are already in the US.
Yeah. But the problem is not a problem. It's just a matter of size. It's like, oh, you have the opportunity to sell in California, but you decide to sell in South Carolina.
Yeah,
that's the same thing. You either gonna try to find a solution to sell in Brazil, or you're gonna settle and sell with Chile, sell in Chile. Chile is a tiny economy,
right?
And pretty much, probably, I would say 80% of the consumer market is located around Santiago, the capital. So it's not a huge market. I wouldn't expect like meaningful results there.
Right. Probably maybe as an entry point. No?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Okay.
The benefits, the other benefit is that if you're selling in Mexico and you're already working on having your listings in Spanish, Chile is, an easy, like Spain are easy thing, you can easily adapt. In Brazil, you need to adapt to a different language. You need to get your listings in Portuguese. It's a different ballgame. So yes, for sure, you can explore other countries in LATAM other than Brazil as an extension of Mexico.
Absolutely, definitely. I think if they see the opportunities that marketplaces such as Amazon bring, I'm sure that the government is definitely going to be considering on opening. But I know that I've got a lot of sellers that are based out in Brazil that are trading out in the American platform, and also that are trading over into Europe. I was actually shocked being in Texas the past week as well, the number of Canadian sellers that are currently in Canada. The number has really, really increased. And, countries are opening up more. I wouldn't be surprised with Europe probably to have more marketplaces as well opening up, like what we are seeing at the moment. We've got Belgium, we've got Netherlands, we've got Poland. So there is more and more that are opening up even in Europe, and they're competing with local platforms. So yeah, the world is opening up. It's becoming more and more as a global village, which is great for anybody that is looking at opportunities opportunities out there. But I would say still just ensure that if you're going to be taking this route, just do your proper research before you do anything. Speak to an expert who's going to be able to support you as well. And yeah, I think that's it from my end.
That's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much for summing up there, Melanie. That was absolutely fantastic. And Ricardo, it's been so pleasant listening to you both. I could literally sit here and go, come on, keep going, let's go. There's so much information that you guys can actually part to the e-commerce ecosystem. It's unbelievable. But I think we haven't had any questions come in yet. So I think what we can do is we can say, if you wish to get in contact with Melanie, you can obviously email her. You can email us at expansion@avasgroup.com, or you can email Melanie directly. That's melanie@avasgroup.com. Alternatively, you can connect with your Sellers Funding account manager, and they can also arrange an introduction as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we've got one person, Marco. Marco, if you've got a question, if you can please put it on the chat, that'd be great, and we'll be more than happy to take that. Yeah, if you can just type it, that'd be absolutely awesome. We'll be able to take that question. There is somebody who's written a question in French. I don't read French myself.
Yeah, sorry.
There's a French person is just asking if they can get. Is anyone able to, among you who can help me to understand the subject matter? Thank you. So yes, I think. Alpha, if I can just find a way to reply to that, I can certainly help in French. Yes.
Yeah,
that's
fantastic.
Right.
Okay, Marco is saying that the chat is being disabled, but I can see he's if you can put the question here, Marco, that'd be great. We'll be able to answer you, please. Yeah. Alternatively, you can email me directly, melanie@avasgroup.com.
When working capital solutions from Sellers Funding will be available in Europe for Italian-based companies. So I think this is an Italian-based seller who's looking to find out when capital solutions from Sellers Funding will be available.
We are working with in a number of initiatives to be in compliance with local regulators. I would say we'll have something more concrete to share with our clients in the next 6 months, to be on the conservative side.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I think if you can get all your licenses across Europe, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's like in the US you need to deal with 50 states. In Europe is no different.
It's no different. It's no different. But at least we've got EU27 plus UK, and then the other member states.
There's a question for you there, Melanie. Where would you incorporate in the EU? We're a British company that sells across the EU.
Yeah, I wouldn't incorporate from a point. It depends actually on what you want to achieve with the company incorporation. It's not going to be a straight answer, but I would say for increased administration and cost, I wouldn't incorporate. Instead, I would use my same entity that I'm using in the UK or in Europe and use that for trading over. It's been easier ever since Brexit to ship into Europe, and if you wanted to lend that, we'll be able to support you with that. But if there is a really good reason to incorporate, probably I'd be looking at Estonia. As a country from an incorporation point of view, they've sort of like got more advanced systems like the UK when it comes to company incorporation. Any other country in Europe, unless you are a resident there, it can be a bit challenging after Brexit. So probably it's a conversation that we can take it offline and just sort of like understand what would be the motive of you wanting to incorporate. If it's about shipping, I'll turn around and say we'll be able to support you with that in order for you to be able to ship.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, they've been trading for 18 months, but it's hard to get things done when we're only a UK company. It's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely, Ben. It's been a bit of a nightmare. It's amazing that even during this time, we're still coming across a lot of individuals that are struggling. Even the biggest brands or the biggest companies, some of them, they actually stopped trading with Europe the moment Brexit came into play, because it just became a bit challenging, and that's why we've sort of like launched a project with Amazon. Which is Amazon Transport Service, and we're supporting any seller there who is looking to ship their product from the UK into Europe, from Europe into the UK at the lowest fee. And you can sort of like do a test product ship with us in Amazon. So we become the customs representative for you. We're not a shipping company. We can be your customs representative for Europe. So we'll mitigate and sort out all the documentation that you need in order for you to be able to restart your business. I would say this is one question that really pains me, because I know there's so many people that have stopped trading with Europe ever since Brexit came in. And this has happened actually with Europeans themselves as well. I would say it's easier to ship to the UK, to be fair, than any other country in Europe, but we can still be able to support you and mitigate those problems via Amazon ATS if you're selling with Amazon. If you're not selling with Amazon at all, that's not a problem as well. We'll be able to support you with that, and we do partner with shipping companies that we support with all the documentation and custom bits that are required. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. I would like to talk about this further. There's a lot of things to consider. Thanks again. Brilliant. No problems at all, Ben. You're very welcome. Please do reach out. We'll be happy to continue that conversation with you.
Of course.
Brilliant. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. I don't think we've got any other questions right now that are coming through, but another question. There's another question. I don't know whether we've read this one, Mike. Where would you
like to incorporate? Yes, that was Ben's question.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I think Ben is trying to sort of like mitigate the problems that he's had with Europe, but we'll be able to support you without incorporating or increased any fees any further on the EU side. There's better ways that you can actually do things, and I know that the borders, they are sort of like tightening up again, because I think Netherlands has been one of the best places to ship to into Europe, but you know, they're changing a lot of documentation, and because of Article 23, and they're sort of like tightening up. But we can talk about that. We've got a full customs team that can be able to support you with that, Ben. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mike, and thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting you guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we look forward to hopefully catching you again very soon. That's all from me, and I think that's all from our panelists as well. So thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mike.
so much. And
Bye.
take care, Ricardo, up there.
Oh, I will. Thank you.